doing.
All right, well, let's get some analysis on that now. Joining me is political analyst Pakendorf. Very good morning. Thanks again for your time. It seems the gloves are off now. Is the writing on the wall for Zwelinzima Vavi?
It's too early to say. There's been a lot of speculation about Cosatu being torn apart, being differences within Cosatu, and the organization has always managed to survive. This isn't really, there's partly an ideological divide, but I think this has more to do with the personality of Mr. Zuma than with anything else. Mr. Vavi came out very loudly and questioned the excessive spending on eNCA, for example. He's in the forefront of people who fight corruption. And there is division as to whether the Cosatu should simply accept what has happened at Mangaung and move forward with the ANC, assist them in elections as before, or whether they should stand back a little. Because remember, Cosatu as such, as the trade union federation, apart from being part of the ANC, is under severe strain. There is a radicalization going on the workshop floor. AMCU's come to the fore, the trade union movement amongst the farm workers in the Western Cape, the National Transport Union, all people who are unhappy with what Cosatu delivers to them. And Cosatu as such feels strained, not only because of whether you like Mr. Zuma or not, but because as an organization it is under strain.
Can the organization, Cosatu, afford to lose someone like Zwelinzima Vavi and cause such division? It seems like he has quite a lot of support on the ground. And can the ANC also afford to have such deep divisions heading up to the polls?
You know, the ANC certainly does not want to have a divided Cosatu. The ANC historically has been unable to deliver during elections. It always needed the organizational abilities of Cosatu to get things going and to bring out the vote, which is really what you have to do during an election. It's not, an election isn't so much about convincing people that you're right, it's convincing them to actually get off of their butts and go and use their right to vote. And to do that, Cosatu is the body that managed to do it. So the ANC should be is very concerned about what's happening in Cosatu. And I would think that Montash and Cyril Ramaphosa, that those reports are actually true, that they're trying to avert a split, and that I think they'll continue with trying to work in the background to keep them together and say, guys, let's put this off till June next year.
Let's look at the man Vavi himself, Zwelinzima Vavi. Is he popular because of the position that he holds, or is he popular because of his leadership? Because the rhetoric coming out of Cosatu is that no individual is bigger than the organization.
You only hear that rhetoric when there is an individual who's beginning to be bigger than the organization. Otherwise, you don't have to say it. He certainly is an outstanding personality and a strong leader. He's also, let's admit, that somebody who's liked by the media, and therefore he's on the front page more than somebody with a less flamboyant characteristics would be. So, yeah, and the division is really between him and people who want the ANC to be fully behind Mr. Zuma and not question him all the time. And there has been this long... Look, it's a curious thing that within the tripartite alliance, you now have the Communist Party fully behind the ANC as it is now under Mr. Zuma, but the other tripartite alliance, namely Cosatu, is deeply divided, publicly divided, and you wouldn't really say that they're an ANC alliance partner. Some of the things which are being said by Cosatu sound like they come from an opposition party, which is an accusation the ANC does make every now and again.
In closing and very briefly, is the alliance past its sell-by date? Is it time the partners split and fight it out at the polls, you think?
I think it ought to happen, but I don't think it will happen.
Nice and short and to the point. Thank you so much. We'll have to wait and see. That was political analyst Pakendorf bringing us the latest there with regards to Cosatu. Now, when we come back, we'll take a look at the big stories in the morning papers, and we'll start off with the Star this morning. NPA embarrassed is their headline. We'll take a look at that when we come back. Stay with us.
News that moves. eNCA.com.